Moo. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Cowcast. Today I have a guest, Ortheous from Darkshift Gaming. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me. What can we do today?
Oh, we're just going to be having a good time talking about good old Diablo 2. We're going to talk about patch 2.4, some things that we're excited about, and right off the bat, we're going to start by introducing a challenge that we're going to begin. I would like to introduce you all to Bernie, with a U. He's going to be my new fire druid, hardcore. So Orth and I are going to do a 2-player hardcore challenge, and we're going to be broadcasting onto our YouTube channels for your enjoyment.
Gonna see you in hell.
I decided to start with a fire druid because the fire druid is going to get a really big buff in patch 2.4. So let's start talking about that. I think the biggest exciting thing about the fire druid buff is going to be that I'm going to be able to use multiple skills one after another without waiting. And so I'm going to start out, kind of with that wait. And so now we have our welcome to the game, Craftmancer.
Yep, I enjoyed Necromancers very much, and I plan to do a Summon Necro to complement the Druid. See what we got going on. Oops.
Yeah, so we were talking here, the challenge. So we are in hardcore mode, which means when we die, we're dead, and we can start again with a new character, but it has to be a different class. Also,
Different class.
We have nothing in our stashes, no gold, we have nothing.
Hey.
And so, starting off with nothing, that's kind of a cool thing. It's a solo self-found run challenge. And we've also agreed we're not going to use vendors. Instead, we're going to gamble. That's going to be fun. So these are going to be the rules of this challenge.
Indeed it will be. Let's see.
So let's talk a little bit about patch 2.4. What are some things that you're the most excited about, Ortheous, in patch 2.4?
I guess the most exciting things I would be excited about would be the mercenary changes to where in Act 5 you're going to be able to, in Nightmare in Hell, you'll be able to hire any of the mercenaries you want from the vendor for them.
Yeah, there's some changes to the mercenaries. Act 1, they're allowing Insight Bow and Amazon gear, which is cool. And then the Act 5 mercenary, they're allowing the addition of Barbarian gear and a new mercenary that features Frenzy. That's super cool.
Yep, they can also dual wield too.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool for a Necro Summoner to have that mercenary, especially once you're rich and you can have a couple of rune words that give you some auras or something to beef your skellies up even more.
Yep, that'd be nice because the basic rule right now, if you want to beef up your skeletons, either with solo play or group play, is either Beast or the rune word Beast, or you have a Druid or a Paladin with you.
Yep. Very good. Well, I'm excited about the Fire Druid changes, like I said, being able to multicast, and so that's why I'm going to start off with this. In this challenge, I wanted to be able to buff the Skelly army, so I was either going to do a Druid, or I was going to do a Barbarian, or a Paladin. And the things that I'm excited about the most, the Barbarian, the changes aren't really that huge. My favorite barbarians to play has generally been a Frenzy Barbarian, because you get to max out battle orders as a synergy, and that's just always cool. But, I was already doing a challenge with Speedy, the Frenzy Barbarian, and I was, doing that on YouTube. And I was like, so I think that's a little bit too similar to what I was already doing. And I'm doing another challenge with Kyle where I was playing a hybrid assassin, traps and kicks, and that's really fun. Death Sentry,
Yeah, you don't want to get
Dragon
stale
Talon.
You don't want to get stale in your playing. That's why I enjoy this game so much, is because there's so many different opportunities and different options for you to play if you get quote-unquote stale with the character.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of changes to the Necro, really. They try to do something with the mages, but
Mhm.
but the large consensus is that they still suck.
Yeah, mages are never. That's why I always, whenever I play summoning druid, summoning necro. I always put 1 point in mages because by the time
Good
you get all
day.
your plus skills and your gear together, you're gonna be able to summon 7 to 8 skeleton mages anyway.
I mean, if you use it as a 1 point wonder, then it's pretty cool, especially if you're putting a bunch of points in summon resist. They can just be like some extra, like, basically walls because they don't hit very hard.
Yeah, they just die. But with summon resist, I only put 1 point in it to be honest. For me personally, because of the way it scales.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't scale very well past 20 or
Well,
even
totally.
past
Yeah,
five.
that's the beauty of the respecs, is then that way you can invest some points in these things with the logarithmic returns early, and then you can get those
Good
points
day.
back later when you got a bunch of plus skill gear.
Right, and you only get 3 respecs, so if you don't count the token of absolution, which was introduced, I think, patch 1.10, or was it 1.11? It was one of the others. One of those two.
Yeah, I like it. I
Hopefully they fix, because if you go back to 1.09, they fix a bug they still haven't fixed, which is the cane identifying items in your queue.
oh
Because before 1.10, he was able to do that. But for some reason, with the massive update for 1.10, they weren't able to. They bugged it, and he wasn't able to anymore.
Good day.
yeah, especially as somebody who loves to run a full inventory of charms, you know. As Llama says, like a good little boy. Um, it's just like it makes you so much tankier. Makes it so that you can have more magic find, more resist, more life, whatever you need. Especially if you get those godly charms where you get a decent roll with a prefix and a suffix, and you like both of them. That's really cool. Or if you can trade for something like that. Um, yeah, this is going to be cool. And so we're going to be sort of encapsulated in our own little universe in this challenge, just the two of us playing, and we're only going to be able to trade with each other, and that's it. So it's going to be sort of a neat
Good
a
day.
neat thing. Playing different classes, so hopefully we'll find whenever we find different class items, it'll be easy to share. But of course, we're always going to find stuff that we don't want, like we're going to find Amazon stuff. Save it for later because you never know if one of us dies when we're going to have to start over, and only have the benefit of what
Yeah,
we've saved.
it's always nice to save those extra items.
Talking more about 2.4, the sorceress is being opened up a lot. They did a whole bunch of changes to Hydra, and then they rolled
They
it back a little
did.
bit. So I'm not sure exactly where that's going to set, but I still
Good
think
day.
it would be really fun, regardless of how massive the damage is of Hydra, to be able to just throw down 6 Hydras real quick and just wait while that gives your Merc time to go in, and time for them to just kind of get softened a little bit, and then you could go in and start throwing your meteors and fireballs when you recast them or whatever. I think it'll be a fun build to play. So the fire sorceress is definitely going to get played by me in this latter season for sure. What do you think?
I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see because there's a lot of synergies with it. I think that's what they were trying to avoid, but they obviously got
Good
it
day.
up there. They wanted to do Firebolt and Fireball synergies to it, but apparently it was too much damage and too much value from it.
I'm
And then
excited
they
to try it.
limited. Yeah, they tried it in the beginning and then they knocked it out. And then they limited the max number of Hydras to 6.
Well, that's cool.
So
The
it
assassin
looks
gets 5
interesting.
traps, so I'm sort of looking at it like a sorceress trap.
I can see that.
Yeah, I love playing the Death Sentry and Dragon Talon, and since I'm doing the simulated hardcore one life
Good
challenge,
day.
um, I that was where I had no stash, was on just regular single player. You know, playing with the Life Leech Cobra Strike has been just so cool. Like, I never used that one before, and it doesn't have a bunch of synergies. It's just a solo thing. So if I put 20 points in that and then 20 points in Dragon Talon, I've got my martial arts basically done. I mean, I could get a point in Dragon Flight if I want the tele ability. Then I've got 60 points more to put into traps. So that's why I'm doing Death Sentry with it, because not even for lightning damage. I'm doing it just for the corpse explosion. It's awesome.
Good day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Corpse Explosion's a very good skill, be it Necromancer or any of its variants to other classes.
Yeah, it's fun, especially when you're on single player.
Mm-hmm.
That way, she can defend herself by fighting and instantly regain her life and mana with the Cobra Strike combo with the kick. But then also, throw down the traps. It'll start softening them a little bit. But then as soon as one of them dies, then things start happening. And I love playing these hybrid builds. I was trying to think about a way to do like Hydra and maybe Frozen Orb, but it's just too many points. So you wouldn't be
Yeah, and
able to
it's
have
too
maximum
Day.
fireball and all that. You'd have to just only max Hydra and Fire Mastery maybe, and then do Frozen Orb with it.
yeah, because you got to use. You basically have to put a point in everything for the fire tree
Hmm.
to make it even work, and then the same thing with Frozen Orb. You have to put a point in basically everything.
I'm looking forward to the Blizzard Sort 2.0, man. Take it and make a hybrid with Frozen Orb and Blizzard. I think that'll be sick.
Yeah, Frozen Orb's always been good, and Blizzard is always been a really good skill to benefit from what are the
Good
synergies?
day.
Ice Bolt, Ice Blast, and Glacial Spike. So if you start from scratch for a Frozen Sorceress and you're just putting points in Ice Bolt, it'll be a good synergy towards Blizzard in the end. So you won't have to worry about respecking if you put too many points or so into Ice Bolt.
Yeah, Ice Bolt is a synergy for both, so it links the whole build. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cold Mastery, depending on how much plus skills you have, and if you're using running a towel that gives you plus to Cold Mastery or something, you don't have to max it out, and that's the thing. It in a way it's kind of better than Fire and Lightning Mastery because of that.
Good
It doesn't require a whole 20 hard points like on mine. I think I have enough plus skills that I put like 7 or 8 hard points into Cold Mastery, and that's enough to get like minus 135 or something. It's high enough
Right.
that it's over 100, pretty good. It could get a little. I think it could get up to 150 to be perfect. It's always good to have a little growing room. You can throw another point or two in.
Indeed, it's always good to have growing room.
But minus 135 is decent for only 7 hard points. Like, that's pretty cool. And my source I'm talking about is a level 91 non-ladder, and she's cool because she's a Frozen Orb Nova hybrid, and so she's gonna get a nice buff, even though she only has 1 point into Thunderstorm and 1 point into Static. It's
Yeah,
only
it's
going to
gonna
give a
be-
tiny buff at the start, but she's level 91. So now I can put a few more points into those synergies to buff my Nova. So that's a cool hybrid too that most people aren't really talking about playing, is the Frozen Orb and Nova hybrid.
Right, and Thunderstorm's got a nice buff because it's going to have the same time duration. Because when they change the duration for, I believe it's Battle Command and Battle Orders, they changed that to be the same time duration. So instead of
Good day.
battle command being off, it's going to have the same time duration, and that goes for sorceress too with some of its skills. Like thunderstorm's going to have the same as Evit's energy shield time duration as well, and I
That's
believe
cool.
frozen armor and such are going to have the same too. A lot
Well,
of
yeah,
people didn't notice that.
If they have a similar duration, then you could rebuff everything around the same time instead of like having to keep track of like what's on and what's off, because like some things are 10 seconds and some things are 4 seconds and some things are 15. Yeah, I can understand that's confusing.
Right, I understand that.
Right on. So let's see. Well, what haven't we talked about? Well, like I said, there's not a whole lot to talk about with Barb and the Necro, except for the mages.
I just had a thought about timers, because you know what, you know a lot of private, you know what a private server is, correct?
Not exactly.
Okay, RuneScape. Do you know what RuneScape is?
I've heard of it.
It's a classic MMO that came out in like 2001 or so, or 2000, forget when, but in the last few years they'll have private servers, so basically knockoffs or whatever. But my point is, there's a mod called Project Diablo 2 for the classic Diablo client, and in the last few months they just updated it to where skills that have durations, they will show a timer on that.
That's cool.
So it's a really good mod.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Project, definitely.
Yeah, and they just added timers for buffs and debuffs.
That's
so
cool.
It's a really good idea.
It makes it more modern.
That's what I was getting at. Just a good mod.
Right on. When I played before, I used Plug Y, or Pluggy, or whatever you say for that.
Pluggy, yeah.
Pluggy, yeah. I used that, and it was cool. Because it introduced respec and the idea of having more stash and all this stuff. It was great.
Good evening.
You know, not having to drop trade. It was super cool. And so ever since Resurrected, I've been really happy with Resurrected in general. Just like the only, if I could change a couple things about it, like Kane identifying items in the cube is definitely my number one pet peeve.
Yeah,
like,
that's a bug. That's been in there since 110 or 111, because because before that you can get older clients and ISOs for the old Diablo 2, and you can see he'll identify unidentified items in the cube, but past a certain patch you won't.
Barbarian, there's some splash damage on leap attack, and you know they're supposed to be trying to do some stuff with Grim Ward. I still wouldn't put more than 1 point in it, maybe to try it and see how it works out. I'm not a fan of putting a whole bunch of points in Find Potion. Like I like Find Item, but even so, I usually only put 1 point in it because
there's a diminishing return for Find Item.
Yeah.
One Find Item is nothing but a 1 point wonder, because you get enough plus skills. If you build a Pit Zerker right, you're going to have a full inventory of charms anyway. You're going to get up to like 49%, 48% on Find Item from 1 point in it anyway. So
yeah, I like to put a few points in it, you know, through the game, and then whenever I respec, you know, a couple times is based on, you know, a whole bunch of things. Like one thing that I definitely do, especially in hardcore, is throughout the game I will put some points into energy, because especially if I'm doing a caster or a hybrid cast build, I cannot stand that, oh, I have no mana.
Good evening.
You know, because if you have no mana, you might as well be a sitting duck, right? You're going to die. So, yeah. Ultimately, end game, you know, you don't want to put any points in energy on your final respec or your second, you know, your second to final respec. You want to get to where you're going max vitality. And even so, I'm going max vitality through the game, trying to go, you know, as minimal as I can on the physicals, the strengths and dex, and yet still have enough that whenever something drops that, you know, I want to be able to equip, you know, I'm either there or really close. It's an interesting trade-off, and that's why I think it's really challenging just having the the one respec per difficulty, but it's still so much better than just the old way where if you put a point in something, well, it's there.
Yeah, because then I think it was the LOD expansion that introduced the respecs. Because I know that when that was introduced, the Token of Absolution was introduced. Yeah, it's because with my personal pit Zerker I have with Find Item, back to that, I have 1 point in it, and with all my plus skills, I have up to 47%. So 46%.
That's pretty good.
So it's a pretty good 1 point wonder.
Let's see, the Amazon changes I'm the most excited about are the changes to the bow tree, but they also buffed some of the other javelin skills, like the lightning strike. Is generally not given much love, and the poison Javazon, I guess, is the thing now too. I would not personally play a poison Javazon. I mean, I tried those skills out a little bit, and it just has 1 point wonders, and I was just never even messed with them. But I mean, I guess they're going to get some massive buffs, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to, the dodge and fade and avoid bugs are supposed to be fixed and patched too.
On my current Javazon, I'm not running a Valkyrie for that reason, because I don't want to put points in those 3 skills, because I've had many times getting locked in those bugs. Javazon's already kind of a hybrid between a caster and a melee, because you can do both really well. So when I was younger a few months ago, playing Resurrected and bringing up my Javazon, I would die too often, just because I would try to use Lightning Strike, because the chain lightning seems really cool, but it's just so slow.
Good evening.
Right, the casting, yeah.
Well, even if you cast it over and over, it moves from monster to monster so slow. Like chain lightning I don't think it's that great, because it's just, I don't know, it takes forever to do anything, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because of the cast rate from the original, cast, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's why a lot of people will buff cast rate into a furry zone. Let me see if I can pull up a Lightning Fury Amazon to see what the cast rate is on it real quick.
The Griffins gives you a nice boost to cast rate too. You have it. I think it's 25%.
Yeah, they'll usually use Titans, Griffin's Eye, Spirit, and a few other things that will benefit.
Yeah, the one thing about a Pally is that you can equip the Spirit Shield earlier than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. That level 27, I believe, is the correct level that it's supposed to be at.
It's harder to find the base than the runes at that point.
Yeah, 25 is the lowest you can get Spirit.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to trying out these new rune words once ladder starts. Let's I think, did we talk about all the different characters? We didn't talk about the assassin. I said Phoenix Strike. I'm excited about that.
Good evening.
Yeah. Well, we can get started if you would like to.
Well, I just wanted to talk briefly about ladder before we get started on the challenge. So I'm really excited about ladder 2, because I remember when I first played Diablo 2, not Resurrected, but LOD online. Ladder was the first way that I played before I even played single player, and I didn't really understand it at first, because I was just kind of learning the game. And then I played some single player and really got better at the game, was able to do Ubers for the first time and stuff by myself on single player, and then I kind of stopped playing for a while. Then with Resurrected, came back out, And I was like, man, now I get what ladder's supposed to be, because before, I think I might have got to like level 80 or something, but I didn't really on ladder ever get like, you know what I mean? Didn't get that
Yeah,
far.
this ladder is a good reset because for Diablo 3, I personally played that for a few quote unquote ladders because their version of ladder was seasoned. And just the fresh start helps you understand the game more and more because you're like, oh, this I did it this way the first time. I might as well do it a different way, but I learned the best way to level up and get to the point of, okay, and here's end game. Let's start farming. Let's start doing this.
Good morning.
Yeah, I love playing different builds through the game. That's probably my favorite aspect of Diablo 2 is, just watching the character grow. And like for every character, feels like there's that point where, the build that you've been trying to make is starting to come together and you finally have all the skills that you wanted to have in combination, you know? And that's the most fun time for me. Say if you're playing a lightning trapper, when you first get, Death Sentry, and then you have lightning and Death Sentry, or if you're playing like, a frenzy barbarian, that moment when you saved up 3 skill points so that
Good
you could get
day.
frenzy, battle orders, and increased speed all at the same time. And then all of a sudden you're running around like a maniac, like, ah! That's my favorite part of playing Diablo 2, is that moment where
Yeah,
the character build is just really coming to fruition.
yeah. When it just all comes together, it works.
Yeah, that's
It's
that's
like
my favorite
building
part.
furniture from IKEA. Increase speed and natural resistance, increase speed, increase stamina, and Iron Skin are wonderful one-point wonders for barbarians.
Yep. Yep. And I mean,
Good
again, like I
day.
said, sometimes I'll put more points into them at first, and then later you respec out of them. Um, especially increased speed, because I mean, think about it. Like if you put an extra point and you get 3% for it, like that's as much as if you're carrying a small charm, right? So it's worth it, I think. Then you don't have to
Yeah,
carry
I
that small
believe it's
charm.
worth it because by the time you get to Nightmare, you should be level 35 to 40 or anywhere in between, and you'll be able to respec into just putting one-point wonders in everything you need and then just increasing what you want to.
See, I usually go to Nightmare later than that. See, yeah, interesting. I usually stay in normal until at
Good
least level
day.
40. If not, so a lot of times I'll go at like level 47. I feel like that's good. But then on my hardcore Players 8 challenge that I'm doing with Kyle, because it was Players 8, I ended up going to Nightmare at 52, which is, and I haven't used my normal respec yet. So I still have that plus my Nightmare respec. And I put, I think, 15 points into energy so far. So I'm just waiting for that right moment when I have enough mana from leveling up that I can ditch those 15 energy points and put them all into vitality, which will be pretty soon.
Yeah, vitality is important for builds that don't rely on energy that much. Like my
Good
sorceress, I
day.
have her set up with energy shield, and she only has like 550-ish life at the moment. But all the points I have is in an energy, which it comes out to with all her gear. It's like over 2100 energy. So it's a
Nice.
very nice build when you rely on energy, but a lot of other builds like paladins, druids, and even necromancers, summon necros rely on vitality a lot
Yeah,
just to stay alive.
definitely. And some of the classes, get more life per vitality point than others. And so that's always interesting too. Like you can have barbarians have these
Good
insane life
day.
totals because of battle orders, and then their vitality gives, I think, 4 life, whereas their energy only gives 1 mana per point.
And indeed, it's yeah, battle orders and battle command are so good. I just wish that the call to arms would be a smaller, what's the word I'm looking for? Smaller gap in its points than it has right now because of the runes it takes to make it.
Oh yeah, it's a tricky one, especially when you're on a reset. But I mean, that moment when you craft your first call to arms, like even if you get a one bow, like it's still cool. Like you know what I mean?
Exactly, because it takes an Ammon, Rao, Mal, and Ist, which are really easy to come upon when you're just playing through the game, but the hard rune to get is the Ohm rune. And it's just, the gap is just too big to justify re-rolling it a lot of times.
I don't know. I do it. What I'll do is I'll try to find two bases for it, and I'll make one. And then, if I get a godly one right off the bat because, the game likes me in that moment, then I'll be done. But if I don't, then I'll just make another one and then, trade the lesser of the two, hopefully for runes towards making a third one. And just keep doing that till I get, what I want.
I personally always pick up all 4-socket and 5-socket flails I get because I'm going to end up either making a CTA or Heart of the Oak.
Yeah, Hodo.
So it's a matter of I always pick up a flail if it's 4 or 5 socket.
Yeah, flails are cool. And they're so easy to wield that makes them universal for a lot of characters to use them. And so a lot of times people can tell, what you got just because, they got a flail, they're wearing Hodo or that's their CTA, you see them flip. I generally prefer to use a crystal sword for a CTA just because I don't generally run a crystal sword for my main weapon. So it like really stands out.
Right.
Jumps out on the screen because it's like big, bright blue.
Yeah, for example, the sorceress, their main weapon at endgame will be Hodo. So on their offhand, they will have CTA either in a crystal sword or a broadsword.
Yeah.
The same for Paladin. Usually at endgame, they'll have Grief in a phase blade, so they will have the CTA and a flail on their offhand.
Exactly, so it looks different. That's important because if it looks the same, then all of a sudden you're like trying to fight bosses and you're like beating the crap out of them with your call to arms. You're like, why are they dying?
No, stop not dying.
Totally. I have never been rich enough to make a grief. I'm still trying to save runes for that. I do have some decent rune words non-ladder. I do have a Fortitude F I made for my Merc, and I have a really nice F Insight that I made that got a pretty good roll. And
yeah, the only Fortitude I made was the one that's on my Druid right now.
That's cool.
My Druid's a Fury Druid, so he needs that kind of life and support.
I've been saving forever for an Enigma. I got a Jaw rune, and I have not been able to get a bear rune yet. So I've got an awesome base waiting for it. Just hasn't happened yet.
Good day.
Is it the Archon plate or the Dust Shroud?
I don't remember if it was Dust Shroud or if it was the other one, the easy to wear.
Yeah, it's either people usually put it in a Dust Shroud, Archon plate, or a Mage plate because they're easy to wield and wear for any class. Because There's
another one that I like too. I can't think of the name of it. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I think one of our challenges for this, since it's hardcore and it's going to be a little hard, I think one of our challenges for this playthrough will be Maggot Slayer.
Good day.
It'll be tough to find bases if we're not using vendors, because especially early in the game, if you're trying to make a rune word because you had the runes for it, and you're just like, okay, well, especially like stealth, like in a game like we're going to do here, I'll probably make like 4 stealths because I'll make one for me, whatever base, and then I'll make one for my Merc, whatever base, and then I'll try to find one that's either F for my Merc or like Nightmare level, and then I'll make that
Right.
for me and for my merc. And so to get over 100 defense, where before I had like 10 or 30 or whatever. So, and then I'll do the same thing with a lore helm. Usually, I'll make it just whatever base. I'll put in a cap if I have
Good
to,
day.
and then later I'll make one in a crown or in a war hat or something.
Yeah, a base I like for
Yeah.
Runeward I like for the mercenary early on, especially in Act 2 mercenaries, the Runeward Smoke, because it has so much resistance and so much defense to it.
Yeah, even if you have to put it in like, a demon hide armor or something like that, like a ghost armor that's light for you to wear, or for your merc, just whatever you can find. That 50 resist all in Nightmare, it not only gets rid of the penalty, but it gives you an extra 10 on top of it. So if you're low in resistances, I mean, it makes a huge difference. Well,
Duress is always a good mid-game rune word to use for either yourself or a mercenary.
Oh, Duress is better than mid game. That's closer to end game, especially if you're playing a smiter or something. You can do a lot with that. In fact, on my smiter, since I don't have a fortitude or a chains of honor or anything fancy or enigma for him. What I've been doing with my smiter, which is a pain in the ass, but what I do is I put on treachery, and then I go out and fight just enough to proc the fade, and then I switch to duress. And then I have the fade, but I also have the crushing blow bonus from the duress, and then I go do my Ubers that way. And it's a pain in the butt because then I gotta keep switching back and forth to get faded again. But the fade really helps to counteract stuff like the conviction aura from Uber Mephisto and stuff like that.
Yeah, the way I have my smiter set up for Ubers is I actually, since the points you're going to end up you're going to have so many points at 80 left over after you build the smiter, because you're going to end up, let's see what it comes out to. I believe I had, because you're not going to put points in conviction.
Yeah, it's only 60 points for smite, because you got 20 for smite, and then 20 for holy shield, and then 20 for fanaticism, and then you've got the rest to do whatever you want with.
Yeah, so what I do is I have one hard point in all of the resistance, and then because it's smiters used for just pretty much primarily Ubers, I have actually 20 hard points in resist lightning.
Definitely.
Because that way I can counteract Uber Mephisto easily without having to rely on just lightning or resistant charms.
Yeah, because every 2 points you put, 2 hard points you put in those, gives you +1 to your maximum resist. So, for example, you start with 75. So if you put 2 points in resist lightning, now you have a maximum 76, and you can keep doing that all the way up to level 20, which would raise you up to 85. What I did with mine is I'm wearing a T-Gods and something else to help raise my fire or cold. So I put like a whole bunch of points into fire and lightning, not quite 20, but close to 20 in each. So I'm like at like 90 or 91% fire and lightning. Not quite as high on the lightning as I could be, but I'm working on it. I think he's only level 90, so he's still got a ways to go as far as a few more points to finish out those 2. But that's basically what I was just going to do, was just keep pumping up those max resists until they're 95 or whatever.
Good day.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's built. It's interesting how you can actually build characters different ways every time.
One build that I never tried that I think would be fun, but I wonder why people don't play endgame, is the Charged In, because I just love Charge. I feel like that's just the most fun. So it's almost as cool as Teleport, because it drains your mana like Teleport, but you can just fly across the screen, and like it's just so much fun. I don't know, I love it. But then, like, if you're using that as your attack, I assume it's just probably just not going to be that great unless you're dueling. Like for LLD or whatever, it's probably pretty cool. But I've never seen it charged in a bail run or anything. So like Hell Will, so it's like probably not that great a build, but I that's one thing I want to try just for fun and do a charged in run, just for fun, sometime. But I don't think I'm gonna do that hardcore because you're just kind of like so bullish with that build that you'll die probably a lot.
You probably will end up dying so much that you don't know what to do with yourself.
So let's see. I think we talked about all the different classes, and so for ladder, the new rune words that I'm most excited about are Flickering Flame. I think that'll be really cool. And then the other one for the helm, was it Radiance or something? That one could be really cool too.
Good
I can
day.
look that up. I actually think I have. Yeah, I do have it open still. Wisdom
Llama was
is
really
the other
complaining
one.
about it costing a pull rune, and I mean, like a pull rune, it's like in the trade community, it's not that valuable. Like it's kind of like $1. Like you give me a pretty standardly decent item that most people agree is decent or good, and it's worth a pull rune. Like you know what I mean? It's like $1. It's like, oh yeah, I'll I'll, I'll trade this pull rune for, you know, whatever a Trang belt or something. Something that everybody agrees is really good. But like if you're just doing a self-found run, finding a pull rune can be pretty hard. Like I said, my level 54 assassin that I'm working on, she hasn't found a pull rune. The highest rune that she's found so far is Io.
Yeah, my only gripe with it is that a pull rune is high level. Its required level is 45, so you're looking at wisdom to be made at no earlier than 45.
Wisdom, that's right.
My gripe with it.
I don't think I think 45 is okay because, that would be a really good time to throw on some more pierce, especially if you've got 1 point in the natural piercing ability, and then you got the belt that gives you pierce, razor tail. Then if you throw that on top, you could be 100% piercing real easy.
Yeah, I look at it this way. It's that with these new rune words early on in the game, even after ladder, I would say, is that you'll be finding a lot of people trading different, say, druid bases with Flickering Flame, even some sorceress bases even. And for wisdom, you'll probably end up finding some barbarian bases even. I believe bases for helms are going to be more popular than they were before.
That's a good thing.
These two new rune words.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. What do you think about the new staff rune word, the 6-socket one that has a Zod in it or whatever?
Obsession. My thing is you lose 1 point skill point because you're looking at a regular sorceress is going to have Hodo and Spirit as their weapons. That comes out to Hodo gives +3, Spirit gives +2. But you also have to look at everything gives you too. That's also my thing. I think with the new rune word obsession, it comes down to finding the perfect base. Like it has to be perfect. Because you're giving up a lot to just use one item.
Totally. Yeah, and
good evening.
But I still think it'll be cool, to make these bases sort of valuable, especially if you get a couple of +3s on it. People will want that.
Like on one in storage, I have on non-ladder, I found a 2-socket battle staff that has like +2 to Hydra and like +3 to something else. It could be used for leaf. That's why a lot of those battle staffs early on are valuable, is because of leaf.
Yeah.
I think more Archon bases are going to be more valuable early on. I believe that is the Hell mode.
Good evening.
What you call it? Hell mode.
Archon plate?
Archon staff.
Archon staff,
That's what I was
yeah,
looking
Archon
for.
staff, yeah. Right
You said
on.
maxes out at 6 sockets, but I think it just comes down to what mods are going to be on it.
How much people pay for it?
Because you'll have to have a white one to begin with certain mods, because you'll have to Larzig it to even consider making Obsession in it.
I mean, I guess it could naturally drop with 6 sockets, but it'd be pretty rare. I haven't seen many. Yeah. All right. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? Let's talk a little bit more about the challenge we're going to start in the next video here. We're almost to an hour. The first ever Cowcast, and I haven't even brought out the Cow King yet. Oh, you humans will die in the challenge. You won't even make it out of the cold plains. So, just so you know, I'm sort of a little bit schizophrenic on this channel. Every once in a while, the Cow King will rear his ugly head and cheer for the monsters.
That's fine with me, because they're not going to live long enough for him to cheer for them.
We were talking here. The one thing I realized is I won't get the benefit of Flickering Flame because this is a non-ladder run. Okay, that's cool. I will get the benefits of 2.4 Fire Druid, and I'll get the chance to test the Fire Druid, because that's really what I wanted to do, was test him and see whether it's something I would even want to do on ladder. That was my main objective, because I definitely want to try a Summon Druid on ladder. I think that'll be fun to complement the Mancer, but we still can't... I want to do 2 different Druids, because like I said,
Good evening.
Fire Druid is something I never played for more than normal level. So my strategy, like I was saying to you, is just going to be to max out Oak Sage ultimately, start out with a few points in it, and just go down the fire tree, and based on what skills are the most fun for me and what combinations seem to be the most effective, get maybe 3 20s and then pump the other 2 synergies up, as much as I can. And I'm up in the air as whether, I'll get a bear or whatever for summons. I think probably not. I don't think it'll be necessary. I think it'd be more valuable to have more fire damage. What do you think?
Let me see real quick, because the Summon Druid is actually interesting when it's going to come to it. Because you're going to be able to have... Because do you plan to use Summon Direwolf eventually, or no? Or are you just going to go straight Fire Tree with Oak Sage and Heart of the Roverine being the only ones?
Well, if we can only have 1 spirit, I was thinking at least at first, just go Fire and Oak Sage, and that's it. For this build. For the Fire Claw one we talked about before, I was going to maybe do some more pets with it. Because it was going to be more about having, Fire Claw, so some fire skills, but also some shape-shifting. And then I was going to go Heart of the Wolverine for that build, so that made sense for me to make, some pets, even if they were one point wonder pets. Just for some more viciousness surrounding me. So I kind of feel like with the Fire Druid build, it's going to be Oak Sage and, the Spirit, just to kind of buff up the party defensively, and then I'll be the damage. And then the other way would be, the pets would be the main damage, and my Fire Claw would be mainly, just kind of defend myself when people get close. I don't know.
It sounds like a decent plan.
It's 2 different builds. They're not I suppose I could try both and respec from one to the other. Maybe that's something you could do. I could do.
Morning.
But the Summon Druid I just really wanted to do for ladder, because I just think that would be fun. To do the Super Lag Brothers we were talking about.
Yeah, that should be fun to do. I think a non-hardcore version of that would be fun.
Yeah. No, I don't think the Summoner would be good for hardcore, because when you play a Summoner, like, your character yourself is pretty squishy. But I mean, at least 2 Summoners anyway. But like, I'm gonna try to be your bodyguard as the Summoner here, with the fire skills. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. the Oak Sage to buff us all up, and then, use my fire skills, to protect us both.
Good
And,
morning.
if your skellies die, we'll just get them back, but I'll try to protect us.
Yeah, I had a plan of going with. I usually start with 1 hard point in Raised Skeleton and 1 hard point in Skeleton Mastery. Then I'll put 1 hard point in Amplified Damage, because Amplified Damage is so good against Andy and a few other bosses as well.
Classic.
And then by level 6,
sounds so cool.
Mm-hmm. By level 6, I'll put 1 hard point in Clay Golem. And then I'll work through the summon tree. Then later on, I'll start putting hard points down to Decrepify.
Yeah.
Because Decrepify is one of those that I think is a 1-point wonder, and it comes in handy when you need it.
Also, if you're playing with me, if you get 1 point in summon in lower resist, and I know that's like really annoying because you have to. Okay, so this brings me to a topic that I wanted to discuss. If I could have a second change to Diablo 2 Resurrected, first one would be Cain. We already talked about that, identifying items in the cube. We agree on that. The second change that I would have is I would like to be able. Oh man, I had it in my head and I just forgot it. What were we just talking about?
Going down to lower resist.
Yes. Okay. I would like skills, all of them,
Good day.
to not have prerequisites. Okay, think about it for a second. You should just be able to just put a point in whatever skill you want. Like if I don't want to put a point in Raven, why am I not allowed to put a point in Dire Wolf or whatever? Like, I don't. Why do I have to put a point in Oak Sage just to put a point in Heart of the Wolverine? It's stupid. Like, and so to get lower resist, on my Poison and Bone Necro, I play Bone Spear, and that's my main thing is, Bone Spear, 1 point in Decrepify, 1 point in Corpse Explosion. That's all I need. Kills everything. But then when you're in Bale runs and you've got a whole bunch of Javazons and Sorks, like, it doesn't help to have Decrepify because everything's dead so fast. So lower resist, I just throw that off, and everything dies twice as fast, and it costs me 3 or 4 skill points to be able to do that. And so the question is it really worth it? Like, when I'm playing by myself, no, it's not worth it. But if I'm playing with a group, it's totally worth it. And so that's interesting to me, what you'll decide ultimately, because if you're going to be playing with me as a fire druid, right, lower resist is going to be way better than Decrepify.
Right, and to get to lower resist, that's a total of 6 points you have to use.
I'd really like to see
7 if you include the point to lower resist.
Right, that's why I'd like to see. And I mean, I want to know what you think about this. I'd like to see every skill just independent. They can, of course, the levels, leave them where they're at. But just get rid of the arrows. What do you think?
So basically just leave the synergies, leave the levels and whatnot, but don't have prerequisites. Be able to choose and whatnot.
That's my wish list. It'll probably never happen, but I'd love to see that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It would make sense because it would free up a lot of points for certain builds.
You could really...
Because...
Yeah.
You could see a lot of different builds come from that. Say you just wanted Fire Golem to be your only golem that you summon. In order to do that, you have to have 3 points.
Yep.
I can see that being a thing. It would make sense. But you also have to look at it from the old school of Diablo 2. You had the prerequisites. You had the, if you put a hard point in something you didn't want, you're stuck with it.
Yep. It would totally change everything.
You kind of have to keep the old school vibe. For example, Diablo 3 has all the skills independent of each other. You can choose and pick whatever skills you want anytime.
Okay, so see, I never played Diablo 3. I'm I'm I have a job and a family and 2 YouTube channels and working
Good
like
day.
crazy. So I stick to Civilization 6 and Diablo 2. Those are the games that I have really just stuck
Right,
with.
I understand that. I just happen to play the game
So
before,
that's sort of a
so
D3 like change. I guess that makes sense because it's sort of like an evolution of the game. Like hotkeys on the PC were just that was just the coolest thing ever. And then actually from there, I got the idea. Hey, I'm gonna get a controller for my computer, and I like that even better for especially for the fighting. I don't use it for stash stuff. That's annoying. Um, I use sort of a hybrid with the mouse and the controller, but the controller is
hmm
just so much better. Um, it takes the idea of the hotkeys and like just triples it. Um, but the hotkeys themselves just made
Good
arguably made
day.
Resurrected just so much better, in my opinion.
yeah, hotkeys always make games better, in my opinion.
So much fun. That was one of the biggest improvements I thought. Since it was when they brought the hotkeys in, so that we could just touch it. It's just great. That's what I would do with my trapper or whatever. I would have the lightning on Z, and then I'd have Death Sentry on X, right? And it's right there next to the
hmm
Shift key and the Alt key and all where my hand already was. For playing with that strategy, and I still do love to play that way. But I don't know. Uh, I do a lot of video editing, and so like I find having my hand in that mouse position is just not that much fun. The
Good
controller is
day.
a nice dip. I have my hand opposite, upside down. It's just a nice change to it. I don't know. People are always on my channel. They're commenting, "You're playing on a console." I'm like, "No, dude, I'm not. I'm on a laptop. I swear."
Yeah, you're just making it. You just use the controller. That's all.
Yeah, which the controller setup for this game was really well done. I like it a lot, and it works really really well. I don't really have any complaints about it. The way that they mapped it for controller, you can have 8 skills. No, you can have like 12 skills right there, real quick, and it's just it's more than I even need. It's great.
Because, like, for
Good
example, the only
day.
skills that a paladin ever needs for a smiter is like 4. I think it comes out to, right?
Yeah, you've got smite, holy shield, fanaticism, and charge for movement, and that's really it.
I don't
As long
even
as you got
use
a
on
life
my
tap
smite.
proc, you're good.
Yeah, on my smite paladin, I don't even use charge for movement. I move fast enough as it is.
Oh, I love charge for move. Charge is like my favorite pally skill. I don't know why, just because it's so reckless and fast. It's sort of like playing the frenzy increased speed barb. Like I was thinking about doing for this challenge, but then I was like, I've already done that. I wanted to do something I haven't done, so that's why I decided to
Good day.
go with the druid, because the druid is probably the class that I played the least of all of them. Actually, my very first character was a Zeo Paladin. And I mean, that was hard because it was my very first character for ladder ever, and I had nothing, and I didn't know how to play the game at all. And so that kind of like, I don't know, like that kind of made me like paladins less than the other classes. Although I do have a 90 smiter and a hammered in, but honestly, and people might hate me for saying this, but dude, I don't like Hammerdens. Yeah, their skill's really powerful, but I feel like it's clumsy and annoying. And the only place that it's like super fun and epic is the throne room of Baal. Otherwise, it's just because I feel like I'm always too close to the
Good
wall,
day.
and then so my hammer's not like going around enough, and it's like hitting the wall and disappearing, and so like I'm tanky, but I'm not hitting anything, and it's frustrating. What do you think about the Hammerden?
The Hammerden is an interesting build, in my opinion, but it's one of those that relies solely on, I believe you still have to rely on Holy Shield for that defense. They still rely on that.
And I've
And
never had
then,
an Enigma. So like I know that's like for a Hammerden you have Enigma. Like that's just what you do. And I've never had Enigma. So I've had high cast rate, break points, but I've never had the
Good day.
Yeah, Enigma is one of those that repositions Mercenary, that repositions you if necessary.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad build. Like, it's obviously one of the top 3 builds, you know, the Blizz Sorceress and the Hammered and the Lightning Fury Javazon are the 3 meta builds from 2.3. They're the, you know, the 3 most popular, most common, and I think we're still going to see a lot of them coming up in ladder 2.4. But I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to see a lot more different builds, and I'm super excited about that. The like I said, the Paladin I'm excited for in ladder is the Fist of Heavens Paladin. I think that'll be fun, just because the only times I ever tried Fist of the Heavens, it was like, why would I put points in this? This is stupid. I wish I didn't even put 1 point in it. But like, if it actually did what it was supposed to do, I could see it being epic and awesome. So I am going to try that. Yeah, this is super fun, man. Ortheous, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. So, one last question. How can everybody find you? Why don't you tell everybody about your YouTube gaming channel? If you have any other social media or websites you'd like to plug, anything you'd like to talk about, this is your floor. Go for it.
The only thing you can find me is on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find it in the description of the video, or the Cow King will be able to provide it for you.
Yes, link will be in the description. Absolutely. And you even put it on the screen for me right there. That's excellent. Epic. So, yeah, I can grab that. Very cool. I can copy and paste that. Darkshift Gaming. Thank you so much, Ortheous, for joining us on the very first Cowcast. And remember,
Thank
everybody.
you for having me, and I plan to be on more.
Thank you. Yes, you're an excellent guest, and you will be back. Make sure you like and share this out. Please subscribe. This channel is tiny. I think it had 37 subscribers when I looked today. That's okay. You know, we're just doing this for fun, but I'd really like more people to see it. So if you're new to the channel and you're still here over an hour into the podcast, you know, it's time to mash the subscribe button. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on the Cowcast. You humans suck. Your challenge will end in death, failure, humiliation. You won't make it out of the cold plane.